Hello YouTube world, Mac Daddy 1911 A1 here with the Shade Tree Survivalist. Today I want to talk about old Betsy, my M1A M14, and the reason why is because last weekend I put up a video where I was working through some problems with the rifle. A good portion of those was I added a little bit too much paint to certain surfaces. This should not have had that much, and it was causing issues with feeding and the operation of the rifle. But that was not the only reason, and I was not totally upfront because in certain scenarios, ladies and gentlemen, you just don't want the opposition to know. Last year I purchased an entire, well, quote unquote entire spring kit from Brownells to replace all the worn out springs that'd been in the rifle since 2001. Now I don't shoot old Betsy as much as I would like to, just because, you know, the way things bounce, the ball bounces sometimes. The ammunition's expensive, and getting out anywhere where you can actually put some distance on the rifles, you know, it's a pain in the neck. Now the new job I've got, if the summer works out right, I should be able to get in 2 or 3 hours of shooting every day, because I go right past the rifle range. There's twofold purpose of this video. I'm going to show you guys the part there was a part that was broken, and I'm going to show you that part, and I'm going to show you some of the updated parts alongside the old parts that I've got laid out here. There's one original part I cannot find. Have no idea what the hell happened to it, but anywho, this is the tiny little part that broke. Let me see if I can get the damn camera to focus, and of course it wiggled. There we go. This is the guide for the spring, as well as the plunger, I guess you'd call it, for the hammer spring. Okay, and here is the spring itself. This is the old one, and you got the strut that rides down in it, and then that's what actually interfaces with the base of the hammer. And when you release the trigger and release the hammer, it flies forward, and this spring is what pushes it. Well, the open side here where you can see the spring, it's supposed to be that way, but there's another piece that comes over and wraps around the end of it, and that's what broke. And I think it's been binding in there, and that's the reason I couldn't pull the op rod back several times last weekend. Now the deal is, I've had this part for almost a freaking year, but I've been waiting, because when I broke the original one, I knew it's such thin material it could break very easily again. So I've been waiting patiently on the brand new friggin' jig, the tool to reassemble it with, from Brownells. I ordered it April 15th of last year, when I ordered the damn new springs, and I waited and waited, and they've had it on back order, and I got tired and I went ahead and did it, and that's when I broke the damn part. So it's only actually been well, the hiccup that I had, the several hiccups I had in the previous shooting video where I was outside, was caused by the same thing. I mean, simple as that. And then this video, the hiccups I had in it, part of that, the just not working all the way correctly, was definitely from the paint, but that was a very big contributing factor, and I just said screw it. And I shot this video earlier, and I made a mistake and said I did it Saturday morning. I actually did it Friday evening. I got home, I sat down, I had me a fire built, I had my coffee pot going, and Kim wasn't here, and I didn't feel pressured or anything, and I took my sweet time, and I watched Tony Ben 3's channel on the full disassembly and reassembly of the M14 trigger mechanism, which also will work on the M1 Garand because they're identical. And then there was another one, Rhode Island Armory put up a good one, and between the two I saw a little technique, and was able to get the trigger housing back together. Let me stop the camera right quick and I'll pull it out and show you guys. Well, I'll tell you what, screw it, let's do it on video, shall we? First things first, you want it cocked. The hammer must be cocked. Then you want the safety on, and then you just push down and outward on the back of the trigger guard, and it pulls right out. No pins to drive out, none of that other nonsense. Very easy to disassemble or pull from the rifle. The disassembly is a little more involved. You got to do some pushing and so forth at the rear back here with the hammer forward, and use a little tiny punch to push out the pin, and then it's a pain in the neck. Let me turn the camera around. I'll show you guys close up. Okay, here is a close up of the trigger mechanism with the guard swung out of place, the safety on, the hammer cocked. Okay, this tube right here is the tube that broke, and here's the broke one in a side-by-side comparison. Okay, and this is the trigger mechanism from the rear. If you had it installed in the firearm and you were holding the firearm in your right hand, your hand would be under here, and this would be looking down into it. The hammer has been released and it is up. You definitely want to control that. You do not want it to strike the housing. But you see how it's pushed over just a touch, okay? That's the way it's made. The open portion, okay, here's the one that's broke, but you can see right here where my finger is that it is open, and there's supposed to be a little collar at the front, and that's that right there. Let me get a better pointer. Right in there, and the open side rides there where the safety is. So that is a necessity of the design, and you want to grease it so it doesn't kink and bind. But yeah, it's a pain in the damn neck. That is a pain in the freaking neck to reassemble. But I wanted a new hammer spring. I wanted everything replaced, and those are the only springs you really can get in a kit. I want to say that all the manufacturers are using the springs. I'm not sure, but they're quality springs. They claim to be extra power. Once you let them set up and all, they basically are the same exact length of the original. But that was a little part that was broke. That guides and captures that spring and ensures that it is good to go. And yeah, I know I've added a little bit too much grease. It only needs grease down in there to allow the spring to smoothly cycle in and out of the tube. But I wanted to make damn sure I got it, and a little extra is not going to hurt a damn thing. Oil, grease, your grit and crap, it's going to collect in there. You just take it apart, clean it. And if you're not comfortable with taking stuff like this apart, and like I said, it's very easy to break this tiny little damn part. It's very easy to break that little part. So if you're not, just take you some gun scrubber and really scrub the hell out of it. And here's the good damn deal: brake cleaner, throttle body cleaner, any of that'll work. And there's no freaking plastic to melt. Okay, it's all iron, baby. It's steel. There's nothing in there to melt. You clean it out really good, and then you grease it and you oil the pins. You got a pin here and you got a pin, well, that's not really a pin the way it's designed, but you got a roll pin down here. Maybe that is a full pin there. It's been a year because I didn't fully disassemble this dude the other day. Definitely that's the back side of the little piece that's on the safety latch. But yeah, it's a fairly robust mechanism, but with the exception of that one damn thing. But as long as you assemble it correctly, it will work correctly, and that's the key. And there's only one way to put it in. If you want the solid side out and the open side where you can see the spring, this open side here, you want it toward the safety, otherwise there's not enough room for the safety mechanism. And that is what this hook sickle looking thing right there is. That's the safety. Yep, greasy and so forth, but it's not nasty. I cleaned all the old grease off, wiped everything down, and I just applied a little too damn much, but I don't stress over it because it also makes wiping crud away a bit easier. It doesn't adhere. I mean, it adheres, but it won't jam up the damn works, as we saw with the Colt Combat Unit running in that mud and crap. Now, let me pause the camera again. Okay, here's your hammer. Okay, let's cock the darn thing. Okay, it's latched into place. This is the front of the hammer down in here. Okay, between this flat wall of the trigger housing and that flat of that hammer, that's where if crud gets in there, it will prevent the hammer from striking the base of the bolt. Okay, now what you're looking at now is inside the bottom of the Sage chassis, and this is your bolt right here. This entire piece, that's the bottom of your bolt. This is the firing pin bridge is what this is called. You on the top of it, you want grease, just a dab of grease on it. Let's see if I can get a shot of the firing pin. Okay, in this shot you can see the tail of the firing pin. That's a real shiny piece to the left center. Watch as let me see if I can move it just a touch. Trying to hold the camera so you can get a view and work the freaking hot rod is a pain in the ass. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here's the bridge right here. And the shiny part down here at the very bottom, that's the tail of your firing pin. Let me work the hot rod. You can see the bolt turn and come out of battery and then go back in the battery. Okay, then the hammer strikes that piece right down there at the very, let me see, right here. See where the shiny piece is that I'm obscuring with the screw? That's your firing pin, that's the tail of it. And that's the reason on the base of on the top of that bridge and the base of the bolt right there at the very rear of the bolt, where it's a little shiny there. Okay, and you can see the leg of the firing pin. But that's the reason that's where it locks in at the rear, and you want that greased. Okay, when you're doing your cleaning and all, you definitely want to inspect that part of the rifle's receiver, because if that's broken or cracked or missing, buddy, your rifle is seriously in jeopardy of blowing up. There you go. So we went over that. You see how the trigger mechanism and all works. Let me, while I'm sitting here, pull old Betsy up here. Okay. Open the trigger guard back all the way out. Making sure the freaking safety's on. And reinsert the damn trigger mechanism if I'll get it straight. That's it. That's all you gotta do. It's back in, it's functional. Take this with a safety check it with the safety on. It's working. Safety off. It works. Alright. So now we got that squared away. Let's talk about some of the parts that I replaced on this thing, and being we're working right here at the mag well to start with, let's talk about this the magazine latch, magazine release. I went inside and found the original. That's the original magazine release. Okay, it had a tiny little thumb pad. And I'm gonna lay it right there, and we'll get a close-up. Okay, because of the camouflage, it's maybe a little difficult to see. This is the extended bolt stop right here, bolt release. Okay, fire the last round in the magazine. The magazine follower on this rifle will push that out, and will stop the bolt from returning the battery. You take your next round or your next loaded magazine, snap it in there. You reach up with your thumb once you take your hand off the magazine, or even with your hand laying there. You see, you reach around with it. But anyway, you're going to press that in. Okay, you see where it's at? Boom. Now you can see that the bolt is back in battery, locked in right where it's supposed to be. Okay, so that makes it much more efficient on the reloads. Now, let's unload this damn thing so I don't shoot herself in the pinky toe. All right. That is made by Smith Enterprises. All right. So I've got a video right after I installed that I put up. This is a new bubble level I added to it. I had to modify it. It was made for a weaver rail, so I had to do some modifications to get it onto the receiver, level the rifle exactly, and it's dead on the damn money. But the bipod, as I stated in that earlier video, is so ridiculous. Motherfucker. Anywho, in the earlier video, I was demonstrating. I told you guys about this. I had to modify it and so forth. But it's working out real well. You can see the extended bolt stop sticking out. But how about let us compare and contrast with the original part, shall we? And here is the original part. If I can get it up there. You see, it didn't have a part that you push in at the damn top. It had a little piece at the bottom. Okay, so you can push it down to lock it open, lock the bolt open. Nothing at the top to press in to release it. This and here does. Okay, but tiny little part. Let me lay it there on a contrasting color. And see, you had this little finger ledge right here that you press in at the bottom to lock it open. The only thing bad about the new part is if you've got the bolt locked back and it brushes up against your body, it'll trip. Or if you lay the rifle down with the bolt locked on the left side, it'll press in. And it'll release the bolt. And you can see it is closed now. And the next thing I want to talk about is the National Match flash suppressor with a bayonet lug. That's what this piece here is on the bottom. What you normally see in most rifles nowadays is one like that. That is the flash suppressor that came on, and you will notice that the bottom is flat. Now the front sight, and I took the front sight off the original and put on this flash suppressor. I did some horse trading with Mr. Benjamin, whose former channel name was Ranger 4321, and we did some horse trading for my Vortex that I had purchased and put on here to make it look like the Navy SEALs EBR, and I did not like the look of it. Worked fine. Never had a muzzle flash, and that was the idea behind the design, but I wanted the original look, and I wanted the one with the damn bayonet lug, and he kindly matter of fact, he is talking about getting one. I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. Mine's brand new. I put less than 100 rounds through the rifle since I installed it. Would you do a trade? And I'll pay and I'll just take a loss. I lost about $60. I did not care. This was what I wanted. This is what I wanted. Okay, so I took the front side off the original. This is the one that came with the rifle, no bayonet lug. And it had a tiny bit smaller opening in the flash suppressor. And on a National Match, they ream out the hole so they can stop a phenomenon called the water drop phenomenon. And it doesn't look like it's much bigger, but it's big enough. Okay, and they just ream that center out. But this is made by Fulton Armory, not Springfield Armory, and it's got that iconic look of the front sight and the bayonet lug on the front of the rifle, and it just makes it look like a real deal M14. Okay, and because I'm not going to disassemble a rifle just to pull it out, I put a Sadlac Industries M14 M1A spring guide National Match version, which is a round one with some flat slots made into it. But before I do that, this is what the M14's original flash suppressor looked like, and you can see it right here in the photograph. And I wanted to show you guys that, because that is the what it should look like. But anywho, back to the part that I replaced, which was with this. This is the original part. It's flat stamped steel, okay, and in this particular item it goes in just like that, with this tip engaging the front of the magazine. Okay, I was talking about the spring guide. It engages just like that in the magazine. Okay, I don't know which shot would be the best, but there's a square hole in the front of every M14 magazine, and the tip of the spring guide, you hook it in there like that, and then you rock it in, and of course the magazine catches it there. But this flat one here will allow the spring to squiggle and everything else, and that round one is designed so that it stacks straight in line, and it eliminates parasitic drag and so forth. But that's another one of the parts, and that's one that you cannot see. The other part that I replaced came with the chassis, the ALCS chassis from Sage International, which the U.S. Navy designed at their Crane, Indiana facility for the Navy SEALs. They requested something that they can modernize and update the M14 to where it could fight in modern combat, and this all happened before the War on Terror began. But this is the original GI spec op rod guide. Okay, it is inserted right. Let me see. Camera cannot get this, but it's right there basically inside the chassis. Okay, and the barrel boss. This big hole rides up on the barrel boss, and then there's a spring pin that holds it in place, and the tiny hole at the bottom. Okay, this hole at the bottom is where your op rod rides and is guided. But the one that Sage sends is sort of rectangular, and it's got holes for 3 screws, and you've seen that in some of the other videos if you've watched any of them. If you haven't, the awesome M14 or the mighty M14 playlist that I've got on here, you go check it out, and there's dozens of videos on there. But that bolts the barrel into the chassis. Okay, there's three of them, one on each side of the chassis and one at the bottom. You torque them down to 24 inch-pounds, and that basically free floats the barrel from that point forward, but from that point toward the rear is bolted in, and the trigger housing and so forth, when you snap that trigger guard down, that latches the rear of the rifle, the receiver, into the chassis. Let me see what else. You replace this. Okay, this is mounted right here on the rifle. Okay, you have your gas system, and right at the back of the gas system, this would be mounted to the rifle to lock the front of the rifle, the barrel, and so forth into your standard stock. That is also a very specific thickness, and it basically acts as a washer to make sure your gas system stays put. Well, when you get the Sage chassis, they send you this washer here to replace this. Okay, so this right here, it's a good idea, except in the original stocks, the stock would swell in high humidity, and it would shrink a little bit if it was in really dry climates such as the desert and so forth. This is what gave the tension to the front of the rifle. Well, they did away with that because of the op rod guide, and that's one of the other parts that was changed. Okay, like I said, I rebuilt all the springs, including the long op rod spring, all the springs in the bolt for the ejector and the extractor, as well as the main hammer spring in the trigger mechanism, The only other one I've got, and I haven't replaced it yet because it's still actually functioning fine, is the spring that is in the gas port, where you can turn the gas on and off depending on your model of rifle. Now they make a non-GI spec gas system where it's straight and solid, and I do believe that's for the SOCOM and the shorter barrel ones where you wouldn't have a bayonet any damn way. But yeah, I've done quite a bit of work to the old girl over the years, but that one thing, that one little tiny part that broke, it's so thin, and I bought a new one and put on it, and now it's operating like it should. But I didn't want it to come out and just say that out front. You just don't need everybody that's damn brother to know your business. Another thing I installed in this particular rifle was a shock buff from Buffer Tech, and it basically keeps the weighted op rod when it goes and stops at the rear from slamming into the receiver and over time possibly causing cracks and fatigue, as well as on a real M14, the original, you could possibly reload very quickly your magazines by using the stripper clip guide that was built into this part. I tried a Generation 3 scope mount from Springfield Armory, never could get it right, just never could. But you have to replace that spring, the stripper clip guide, with their one that's threaded, so you can put a big screw in it, and that's what this was, or one of those screws. You get the Sage, you can get their proprietary one, which is a section of Picatinny rail. So I replaced the Springfield one with the their Picatinny, and now I've got a straight flat surface that you can mount your scope to, and that worked out really well. But that's most of the modifications. Had to have a Picatinny rail adapter to mount a standard Harris type bipod to the rifle with. That thing's got to go. That thing has got to go. Another thing, I've got a bubble level. I think I've already talked about it, so I'm not going to waste any more time on it. And the Surefire G2X, I think is what this thing is. Just a regular flashlight. I mounted it in a 1-inch scope ring, and it mounted right to the side of the little short section of Picatinny rail at the front here. You can buy big sections or small sections of it, and of course the Magpul angled foregrip, the large one, I got it. Had to modify the Sage International's handguard, Kydex handguard, so that that would work and fit. I have an entire video on where I explain that and how I did that. But yeah, now she's back in business 100% once I got rid of that part. But the thing was, is I'd ordered a tool so that you could control it a lot more and it wouldn't bow in and out and possibly break the other tube. And I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting. I'll get it. I saw that I can do it by hand, but if I had the tool, you can mount it on a board on the bench and you can work with it. Maybe they're redesigning it, making it a little easier to use or something. There's only 4 comments on it, so. But I mean, if Brownells is not going to have the damn thing, they should have just told me 6 months ago, and I'd have bought 2 or 3 of those damn things, and I'd have tried it again. If I broke it, I'd put another one in it. They're only $10 a pop. But yeah, you don't tell all your damn secrets. Camo and I are the only 2 that knew that that had happened with that broke part, and it was functioning, but it wasn't 100%. Now it should be 100%, and if the weather will hold today, we're going to go out and do some more shooting with it. But yeah, I got all that. You can see right here in the Hot Rod channel, it's dark line on your screen there. I cleaned all the paint and so forth out, and it just used a little bit of acetone, and then I wiped all that off clean, and then I oiled it, and yep, she works like she should. The biggest thing is when the hammer falls, does it work like it should? because that was what was causing the issue, me not being able to get the damn chamber open. It was not allowing it to cock that hammer back because it would hang up on that damn tube. And I got all the pieces and parts that had broken out of it, and yeah, she works. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what I wanted. So without further ado, beating a damn dead horse to death, that's the parts I've replaced as time has and money has allowed over the years. And the old girl just keeps on keeping on as long as I don't screw it up. And you learn from your lessons. It was wasn't an expensive lesson, but it was a pain in the damn neck because, like I said, I ordered all the parts together. The new tube, the new guide for the spring, and that strut, and the tool to install it, and never have got it. Never have got it, and I'm ill at brown else for that because I keep back ordering it, and it still hasn't shown up. They've contacted me in an email a couple times and told me that it would be November. November's come and gone, baby. Big time. It's freaking the end of February and still no side of it. So I decided to screw it. It's giving me all that crap. We're going to take care of that. And I was like, if I break it, okay, fine. I'll order a damn another one. I'll order 3 or 4 of them. By God. We'll get it in there. You can buy those parts from Fulton Armor. You can buy them from LRB. You can buy them from, I want to say James River. There's several gunsmiths out there who have shops, reputable shops. Brownells, Midway USA, numerous, just on and on. There's plenty of places to buy that little part from. But Fulton Armor had the best price, and they have a stellar reputation of having probably the finest M14 type rifle. It's just that they have a cast receiver also, and I really wanted to drop 4s from Beulah, but hell, I don't know, they've stopped making receivers altogether and complete rifles. You can't get any of their damn parts. So I don't know what the deal is. They say they're retooling. What are they doing, hiring Mexicans or something up there in Ohio? Somebody up there in Ohio go across the street and say, hey, what the hell? But anywho, this is Mac Daddy 1911A1 with old Betsy. No, I'm not going to trade her in on a freaking AR. No, I'm not going to trade her in on a FAL. No, I'm not going to trade her in on an AK or any other damn rifle. She's a pig, but she's my pig, and she does the damn job just fine. Now, got everything squared away. That just... that made me ill that I did that to start with. It's very easy, but you got to have really strong hands to push all those parts back together enough to get that damn little pin started back in there. And that was the problem the first time. And after it had been in the rifle, it took a set, and it was easier to do the second time. But when it was new, man, those damn springs were something else. Hell, I might have broke the other one if I'd have had it when I broke the first one, because that spring was so long and heavy, and I have talked my head off. So I'm going to edit this video together. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Do not discount the M14 rifle. It was withdrawn from frontline service in 1970-ish, but it continues to soldier on to this day. And it continues to get the job done, killing bad guys all over the freaking world. Are there better platforms out there? I would imagine. But I have also Vigilance Elite, I think, is a training company a former Navy SEAL has set up. And he said they had the SCAR, and it was a piece of crap. The 7.62 SCAR 17, he said it was a piece of damn junk. He didn't want any more of it. I mean, he's an M4 guy, an M16 guy, but at the same time, he realizes that SCAR was not nearly what it was made up to be, and the M14 still doing the damn job. And for $3,000+ I'm not buying anything with freaking plastic fire controls. It ain't happening. But anywho, y'all be good. Take care of yourselves. Mac Daddy loves you. Talk to you later about my favorite rifle and favorite handgun, the 1911 A1. Y'all be good.